When we did the who beyond LA do you believe in the most, I picked OKC and you picked Houston. And we've got a showdown.
We do.
And this is, I think there is a gulf between this series and every other series that is taking place in the first round that is so huge. Like, Dallas and Clippers is going to be entertainment for the whole Luka taking his first lumps, but they ain't got enough to deal with the Clippers yet. Like, it's gonna come with time as they build that roster out. And they were better this year than I certainly expected them to be. This Houston-Oklahoma City thing, though, especially knowing it feeds in to the Lakers, because I think either of them are going to be a really tough draw for the Lakers. But you've got a great matchup, and you've got with that the whole, we got rid of Chris Paul, and now Chris Paul is facing us in the playoffs. Heads up, like we're having to meet. I don't think you would have ever expected that Chris Paul, certainly, look, when we were all making our season predictions, we're not expecting Chris Paul to be a 4 or 5 seed in this thing, much less Houston probably thinking we'll never see him. They'll trade him to Miami in the offseason or whatever. They're probably not even going to keep him. But here it is, Chris Paul versus the team that discarded him. It's the best.
It's beautiful. Best. It's great. I look forward to the drama. I look forward to Chris Paul and James Harden yelling at each other at some point, or maybe at least just Chris Paul yelling at Harden on the court.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be great stuff.
Well, and they're supposed to have Schroeder back.
And Westbrook will be out for Houston, as we mentioned earlier, at least the start of the series.
It's been unclear, too, right? And I'll tell you this. Quads and hamstrings are the two that freak me out if I hear that. If I hear about a guy sitting out with a quad or a guy sitting out with a hamstring, because so many times with those, like, you can sprain your ankle or you can tweak something and you can ice it up and you can have massage therapists. You could do all this stuff. Typically with these big muscles like a quad or a hamstring, and we've seen guys lose entire postseasons, entire seasons for that matter, with weird quad stuff, and obviously hamstring same way, because it's just got to heal. Now, Westbrook appears to be made out of metal, so he's probably going to be just fine, and he'll probably just regenerate like Terminator 2 or something. But those two things, the front of your leg, the back of your leg, those quad and hamstring stuff, because there ain't really anything you can do. You can try to do the heat treatment. You can try to do the stretches, whatever, but that's just a time thing. It's just got to heal. And there's a big risk in going out there and hurting it. Hell, we went through this with Kawhi for a whole weird season. Remember? He'd go out there and then he just couldn't play anymore. And it's like, I hope that's not the case with Westbrook, because Lord knows he is as fast twitch, as they come. And
imagine how awkward this will be for OKC fans if he does come back. I cannot imagine how weird.
A lot less awkward than if this shit wasn't in a bubble. Can you imagine?
No
oh my goodness. Can you imagine Westbrook coming back there for a game 3?
No, I can't.
All right. You still like your Houston chances?
I feel worse without Westbrook. That's for sure. Westbrook's critical to what they are. And the Westbrook we saw in the second half of the year after the Capella trade, bringing in Robert Covington, was probably the best version of Russell Westbrook in terms of efficiency, in terms of usage that I've ever seen in my life. You can look at his MVP season and say that's a better player. Like, I'm not arguing that, but the way he was utilized was really creative, and it's good. It's good. It's very efficient. And it was complementary to what Harden is as well. It gave a different pace, a different energy. And now without that, I don't feel nearly as good about Houston's chances in that series, especially with the amount of guards and weapons that OKC has that need to be stopped.
OKC was able to slow them down, in some of the games during the year. And
I don't know how valuable any of those are. Capella was there for all 3 of those.
Okay.
I just don't know how much I'd read into any of those. Like, this is a brand new team, Houston, right now.
Do you think they can play Steven Adams off the floor?
I think they can make things difficult there.
That's the real question. Because either Steven Adams is going to be grabbing 17 rebounds a game, or he's not going to be able to play. There's no in between.
I mean, like we've talked a lot about Houston with the small ball experiment. You know what we're going to see with PJ Tucker and Robert Covington in that front court. This is a great test for that against Steven Adams, who is a throwback style center. Yep. What can Steven Adams do in this type of series? It's similar to what we just talked about with Rudy Gobert, just to a lesser degree. With Steven Adams in this type of series, how does he survive against Houston spacing? Does he? Does he get played off the floor, or does he completely punish them do they crash the glass more than usual to try to exploit that and get second chances? I look forward to seeing how Billy Donovan and that OKC staff makes those calls over the course of the series.